There are lots of different placements where you can show your ads on the Facebook network. You can see them on the regular Facebook and Instagram owned properties, but just like Google, Facebook also has its own audience network comprised of different sites and apps that are not owned and operated by Facebook where your ads can show up. Just like Google, you might not want to show up on all of those different placements because it might not be safe for your brand to be there. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 different types of brand safety controls that Facebook gives us and show you how you can set those up at the ad set and account levels. So I'm in our placeholder Facebook ads account, so I can walk you through these brand control settings. And overall, they live in 2 different places. They live in the ad set settings, and they live within the brand safety settings within the business manager. So I'm going to go through each of those today. They both have the same settings in them, but when you roll them out at the ad set level, they apply, you guessed it, to the ad set. And when you roll them out in the brand safety section, they apply to your entire account. So depending on how strict you want to be with your brand safety controls, whether you need them just in a couple of ad sets or just a couple of campaigns, or if you want it blanketed across all of your campaigns for the entire account, that's how you'll determine where you want to roll out these controls. I'm going to start off with the ad set controls because that's where I currently am, and we'll do the next set in a little bit. Overall, the brand safety controls are, quite frankly, a little bit hidden in Facebook Business Manager. They're going to be in the ad set settings here. You can see there's a campaign, the ad set, and then the new ad, and they're going to live in the placements section under this show more options link. So when I open that up, now we've got access to the 4 different types of brand safety controls. We have inventory filters, block lists, content type exclusions, and in-stream topic exclusions. Let's start off by looking at the inventory filters. And you'll see as I hover over this area, it's going to highlight it in gray, and then we've got the blue edit pencil link up in the upper right. So if I click on this, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit so we can see everything that's in here. Now we can see that it's broken it up a little bit. So what used to look like one big area is now broken up into 2. We can see Facebook in-stream videos, Facebook instant articles, and Instagram TV. And then down here, we can see Audience Network. So there are going to be 2 separate sections that you get to choose these for. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. But effectively, there are going to be 3 different levels of inventory that you can choose for your campaigns. The default is going to be standard inventory. And as you can see here, the current filter setting is standard, and it is always going to default you to the standard setting no matter what campaign you create. That's going to exclude sensitive content and get broad reach. It always applies unless you change it, as you can see there. And the exclusion examples are going to be the discussion of highly sexual topics, depiction of major wounds, and repeated use of strong language. Now, that is probably going to be a good fit for the vast majority of campaigns that you run. But if you do have some clients that are either a little bit more sensitive to this or simply don't care about it, you can go one way or the other. So the next option is going to be full inventory, and this is going to be to exclude content not suitable for monetization and still get the most reach. So basically this is going to exclude depictions of explicit sexual positions, which is different than just the discussion of sexual topics for the standard inventory, excessive violence, and hate speech towards a person or group. So as you can see here, this is much more lax, and the limited inventory is going to be on the opposite end. This is going to have a lot more control in place. It's going to exclude all moderate and sensitive content. It lowers your reach, and it can increase the costs because you're basically taking out a number of places that your ad can show. So this is going to exclude even the discussion of mildly suggestive topics, depiction of minor wounds, and infrequent use of strong language. All of those are going to be excluded from the limited inventory. If you do want to see a little bit more of a breakdown, you can click on this blue section here, and it shows you quite a number of different options, and it'll walk you through each of the different settings for the different types of categories: tragedy or conflict, debated social issues, objectionable activity, sexual or suggestive topics, strong language, explicit content, and then there's going to be a list of items down here that is content that is always excluded from monetization. So if you want to read up a little bit more on that, you can always come in here and check this out. For now, I'm going to X out of it and just default back to the standard inventory. But as I said earlier, in my experience, the vast majority of the time, standard inventory is going to be just fine. But if you do have a brand that either wants to lean into this type of content or is really allergic to it, make sure that you pick the right inventory setting for them. And not only do you need to pick it at this one Facebook InStream, Instant Articles, and Instagram TV section, we also can do the same setup for the audience network, which is going to extend beyond just the Facebook and Instagram placements that we have. All of the descriptions and everything in here are going to be the same, so just choose the inventory level that makes sense for you. For now, I'm going to skip block lists because that's going to take us to the other portion of the interface. I'm going to skip down to content type exclusions. So again, as I hover over here, you can see we've got the blue edit option. If I click this, it opens up just a simple checkbox, and this one is really straightforward. If you want to, you can exclude your campaign from all live streams. That way, you don't have to worry about it being categorized incorrectly. Since it is live, it's going to be hard to kind of categorize something, and you can make sure that you don't show up on anything that you don't know where it's going to be categorized. So if you want to do that, you simply check the box and you're off to the races. You'll notice that there's also an exclude all videos published by non-partners section here. And this is where we're going to start to shift into the other section of the interface that I mentioned earlier, because this says that you can change it in brand safety controls, but it cannot be changed for individual campaigns. The same is going to apply to the in-stream topics. You can see here that it doesn't even give me the blue edit link, it's grayed out. And then I mentioned earlier that block lists are also here. If I click edit, the problem here, for this video at least, is that I don't have any block lists created yet. So what I want to do is hop into the brand safety portion of Business Manager so we can start to talk about these sections a little bit more. If you want to hop in there, you can either quickly just click create a block list, or you can come over into the main navigation, open up the main menu, and click brand safety. When I clicked on brand safety, it brought me into the controls section. And you can see down here that this is going to look very similar to what we just went through. There is going to be an inventory filter that you can set up. And again, you can create these with the full, standard, or limited inventory setting for both Facebook and then the audience network. But this is going to apply to the entire account. So unless you want this to apply to every single campaign that's in there by default, I recommend that you roll those settings out at the ad set level to keep things a little bit more dynamic based on what you want. Now let's hop into block lists. And the easiest way to think of a block list is that it is the Facebook equivalent to negative placements on the Google Display Network. Just like the GDN works, Facebook has a limited number of publisher websites where your ads can show up around the Facebook audience network, and you can exclude those if you want to create a block list to make sure that you don't show up on certain sites. So you can see here that you can create a block list on the block list tab. So I'm going to come over here to block lists. I can then get started by clicking Create Block List. And you can see here that basically you just need to have a list of the website domains and App Store URLs from the audience network that you want to block. You then need to make sure that they are formatted correctly and then upload them using either a TXT or a CSV file. You can include up to 10,000 line items, so you can exclude that many per block list. If you're anything like me, the next thing you think is, okay, this is great. I'm going to create a block list and make sure that my ads don't show up in unsavory places around the network. But where can my ad show up on Facebook? It's not quite as apparent, or at least it doesn't feel as easy to figure out where those are as it does for Google. So the good news is there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. The first is going to be this publisher lists over to the side. Unlike the Google Display Network, Facebook uploads new lists of every single publisher that they have on different placements with a very regular cadence. Right now it is July 2nd, and there are 4 different placement lists that are in here. There's one for Facebook in-stream videos, Audience Network, Facebook Instant Articles, and Instagram TV, which is going to feel similar to some of the placements we've already talked about. You can also see that there's an updated date on it, and the reason I mentioned it's July 2nd is because this one was updated on July 1st, this one was June 29th, this one's also June 29th, and this one's June 30th. These are updated very frequently. Usually they're updated every day. These are actually lagging a little bit behind. But if you want to see the different publisher lists and start to sort through those and decide who you want to exclude from your campaigns, all you need to do is come in here, click on this link, and then there's a big list of the publishers that show up in those placements. You can go through a number of different lists that are here. These are going to be some of the examples, but as you can see, if you hover over one of these, maybe you don't want it, you can easily click Add to Block List. Or what I think is probably the best option is you can come up to this blue button up here, click the downward arrow, and then you can download the publisher list to a CSV for either all placements, which is going to be all 4 of those locations we just talked about, or you can choose which of the 4 placements you want to review. One of the added benefits to downloading this publisher list is that when you want to then go back and upload it as a block list, it's already formatted correctly for you. So it's very easy to come in here, review the placements, and then get those uploaded to make sure that you exclude them from your campaigns moving forward. As I mentioned, there is a second place that you can find the placements that your ads are showing, and for that, I'm actually going to hop into a live account really quick. So now I'm in a live account, but then on top of that, I've also chosen delivery reports down here in the bottom left portion of the menu. You can then see that there's nothing that's shown up, but if you come in here, you can choose select a placement. I'll just choose Audience Network Rewarded Videos. And annoyingly enough, there were no placements there. So I actually went back and chose Audience Network, Native, Banner, and Interstitial so that, something would show up for the report in the video that you're trying to watch to learn how to do this. Now we can see the placements that our ads showed up on the Audience Network in these individual placements. Just like with the previous section, you can scroll over each one and click Add to Block List if you want. You can also download the report for a certain date range. You can also choose which specific campaigns you want to review just by clicking on this downward arrow. And then each of these campaigns, you can see the all campaigns number up at the top, but then you can choose individually based on different campaigns that you have in the account if you want to review by campaign level. The Audience Network placements here are a little bit different, but I do want to show you one more functionality for this report. So I'm going to go to Facebook in-stream videos. Here we can see a number of different pages that have showed up. The Dodo, Ellen DeGeneres, Daily Mail video, Fox News, Jennifer Lopez, all this sort of thing. Let's say you have no idea what the Dodo is, and you want to review if this is an okay placement. For specific placement categories, like in-stream videos, you can come in here, and you'll see that when I hover over this, we now have the option to add to block list, or you can see content level breakdown. Once I clicked on that, it opened up this content list to the side, and these are going to be the links to individual videos or pages that have shown our ads and the estimated number of impressions they've seen. You could review these easily, get a sense for what the Dodo is about, and decide if you want to show up in those placements or not, and then whether you want to add it to a block list or not, based on what you see here. Once you've chosen all the placements you want to add to your block list, you can hop back into the block list section and upload them into a new list. You can then apply them again either at the account level in this brand safety section, or you can apply them at the ad set level like I showed you earlier. The last 2 types of exclusions we have are for topics and content types. The content type exclusion is going to feel similar to what we had in the interface. You can exclude your campaigns from all live streams, or you can exclude all videos published by non-partners. So basically you'll stop your in-stream ads from appearing in videos that were published by non-partners but are still being monetized by the rights holders. It's a little bit convoluted, but if you want to stay out of those 2 categories, all you have to do is check the box and your entire account will be excluded from those content types. Lastly, there are a handful of topics that we can exclude from our campaigns. You'll see here that these are based on in-stream videos, so you can stop your in-stream ads from appearing in on-demand videos about specific topics. There are 4 different ones: gaming, news, politics, and religion and spirituality. If any of those 4 things are categories that you really want to stay away from, you can easily check the box and exclude it. In my experience, news, politics, religion and spirituality tend to be things that almost every company wants to stay away from, unless they're really trying to get into mainstream, take a political stance one way or another. Gaming just so happens to be something that's good to exclude if you feel like a lot of your ads or a lot of your target customers are simply not paying attention to you because they're trying to game. It's a little bit easier to just exclude it as an entire category and make sure your ads are showing up to people who are not quite as fully engrossed as what they're doing online as gamers are. As you can see, there are a lot of different ways to customize the placements that your ads are showing on the Facebook network to make sure that everything is brand safe and in compliance and you're not showing up next to something that just isn't a good look for your brand or for your customers. You can obviously do these either as a proactive step and kind of get ahead of things by downloading the publisher lists and excluding them in a block list, or you can just review the delivery reports and make sure that you're excluding placements that don't make sense for you. Inventory filters can also be a really good way to get those in place, but take some time, understand how each of these different settings work, and decide if they make sense for you. Thanks for watching our video. If you thought it was useful, give us a thumbs up below.
We release a new video at least once a week, so if you want to get notified of when a new one comes out, be sure to subscribe to the Paid Media Pros channel.